Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's show. I'm your host, Jack Canfield, and my guest today is Katherine McIntosh. Now, Katherine's a world-class energy worker who's found the power and wisdom in finding a practical and effective way to change the insecurities of her body that were holding her back from living her best life. And once she eradicated judgment from her diet, this is going to be interesting today. You're going to find this is really radically new, paradigm-busting information. Once she eradicated judgment from her diet, she discovered the power of living by listening to her intuition. And Katherine has traveled all around the world, teaching and facilitating the concepts in her groundbreaking book that have helped thousands of people wake up to their best life. Her book, which is called Don't Diet, Be Happy, is a bold, emotional, and personal memoir that also offers practical tools to create your best body, business, and life by focusing on the things that really matter. Welcome to the show, Katherine.
Thank you, Jack. So honored to be here.
Well, glad to have you here. And I want to start by telling our viewers, I started to say it, but I really want to say it. I think this is a breakthrough book you've written. It's really a radical game changer. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show so that people could find out about it. So now I understand that this book was born out of a personal aha moment that you had. So let's start by talking about what that was that happened and how this concept of yours evolved from that.
Yeah, well, it started really just at the age of 15. I started to judge my body, hate my body, yo-yo diet. Throughout the course of my life, have weighed 165 pounds and 96 pounds and almost died at 96 pounds, and probably have lost and gained somewhere between 500 to 700 pounds over the course of 20 years. And so it was a really huge internal struggle. And when people look at me, they don't see that. But inside, I was always depressed and dying and hiding and so much shame in my world. And so my aha moment was I was a brand new mom. My son was 2 months old to the day, a little redhead, blue-eyed, freckled-faced wonder. And I was having a rather particularly good day. And so I got out of bed, I got all excited to get ready for the day. And I go to put on my skinny jeans. As a brand new mom, don't do that. So I find myself in the hallway looking at myself in a full-length mirror with my skinny jeans only halfway up my thighs. And 10 minutes go by and I'm crying and I'm yelling profanities at myself in the mirror and judging my body. And, my relatively good day went downhill very quickly. And about 5 minutes passed, and all of a sudden I remembered I had a son. All of a sudden I see my beautiful son on this, tan shag carpet with the sunlight coming through. And I went, oh my gosh. And it was literally like a light bulb went off. And I went, if I just missed out on receiving the joy and the magnificence and the gratitude of this incredible being, what have I spent the last 20 years of my life missing out on? And so it was that moment. And I said, that's it. I've spent 20 years on diets. I've spent over $250,000 on diets, and I've lost 20 years of my life missing weddings and parties and dates and engagements because I was hiding in my house thinking I was too fat. And so I decided in that moment to go on a year-long my personal own, what I called the No Judgment Diet. And it meant that no matter what, I wasn't allowed to judge myself. When I looked, the mirror was my source of judgment. So whenever I looked at myself in the mirror, I wasn't allowed to judge myself. And I had to think of something that I was legitimately grateful for about my body. And it took a while, but that was the aha moment.
Wow. It is amazing how much we can make ourselves miserable through judging ourselves and judging our circumstances. Now, you've said that while researching your book, you came across a statistic that stopped you dead in your tracks. And I'm curious what that was.
Yeah. So I think it was in 2014, so a while ago, but I read it and it literally made my jaw drop. So it was that only 4% of women worldwide consider themselves beautiful.
Wow.
And when I read that, I was like, oh my God. And then I looked at all of the beautiful women in my life, all of the beautiful women all over the world, the supermodels, Hollywood, like just everyone that I thought was beautiful. And then I'd read articles about that they struggled with self-esteem, or that they wish their butt was perkier, or whatever it was. And I was like, how is that possible that the entire world thinks it's okay to function from a place of judgment? And that statistic really drove me to dive into this topic on such a deeper, conscious, like really explore the consciousness of living in a body and what it's like to not judge it.
So talk about that for just a minute, because you talk about going on a no judgment diet. And what does that mean?
So it's this concept that, if you think about the idea of a diet, most people go on a diet to follow somebody else's advice. And I don't know about you, but nobody knows more about my body than me. Nobody knows more about your body than you. And so it's about going inside and becoming really curious about how your body functions, about what it loves to eat and when it loves to eat and how it loves to move. And, I was the girl that was following all of the diet advice and was always chubbier, puffier. Diets didn't work for me. I always finished a diet in tears, not feeling better about myself, but feeling worse about myself. So exploring the consciousness of the body is like really going into a relationship with yourself and your body that's an exploration of curiosity rather than like needing to judge it, ridicule it, tell it. Nobody likes to be told what to do. And the body's a part of that equation.
Now, in your book, you give a list of some questions you can ask your body so that you're in a relationship with it rather than trying to control it. Can you share a couple of those?
Yeah. So for example, like if you're on a first date, I don't know about you, but if somebody asks me what my favorite color is on a first date, it's a pretty generic question. I want someone to ask me more meatier, curious questions. And so, we can always ask our body, like, what would you like to eat? But the body's like, we don't really care. But if you ask the body like, hey, what foods would make you come alive today? Or what foods would make you would make you more money? What foods would give you more energy? What foods would, like if you have an interview or you're going in for a job or you're going on a first date, what outfit, right, would give you the best sort of self-confidence? So it's all about this diving deeper and being really curious based on what you want to create as your life.
That's cool. I actually, when I read that in your book, I underlined all that and said, I'm going to start asking myself these questions in the morning as part of my meditation. It's been cool. I like it. So you might have already kind of addressed this a little bit, but what do you see as the most common reasons people fail or give up when they're trying to work with their body, change their body, which everyone seems to be wanting to do this these days, whether it's through exercise or diet? Why do you think people fail?
Yeah, there's two reasons. So I would say that the first reason is that they don't trust themselves. So they have a history of trying diets and failing, of not trusting that they know their body. So they're looking to somebody outside of themselves for the answer. And you and I both know that no one can give us an answer. They can guide us. They can, explore with us. But at the end of the day, we're left with our own thoughts, our own emotions, our own feelings, and we're the experts of our own journey. So I think that people fail to recognize that they actually have the answers inside of them. They just have never been given the owner's manual and the guide to ask the right questions and do the exploration of what's required. So that's number one. And I think number two is that too many people are stuck in judgment, not realizing that judgment is a choice. right? So I'll give you an example. I was facilitating in front of a class of about 50 people when I was first a brand new mom, was first teaching this work. And I started to show them how you can use your body to muscle test foods. You know, you hold like a pint of strawberries in front of your belly and you use your body as a pendulum, and it'll lean, usually most people, it leans forward for a yes, backwards for no, but you test it before you do it. And I was testing and I was like, here, let me take this pint of strawberries and I'll show you how it works. And I muscle tested in front of this class and my body was a loud no. And for my entire life, Jack, I ate strawberries, probably anywhere from 1 to 3 pints a week, right? In my breakfast, in my yogurt, in my desserts. And I was always puffier and had no idea why. Well, the minute I cut strawberries out of my diet from that day forward, I lost about 10 pounds of puff. And so we're told certain foods are good for us, but we never bother asking. We're told certain foods are bad for us, but we never bother asking. And every single body has a unique blueprint, a unique way that it functions in the world. And I think we have to get curious about it instead of assume, because we all know what happens when we assume something. It's not a very good outcome. So,
yeah. You know, it's interesting because I use muscle testing and also kinesiology and what I call the somatic decision-making process, the sway test that you were talking about. And I have been eating almonds all my life and almond butter, thinking, well, it's better than peanut butter. And only to find out when I actually muscle tested it and that my body doesn't respond well to almonds. You know, and I've been dealing with a lot of inflammation. And so a lot of these foods we eat, they're inflammatory, and that's the puffiness. You're trying to lose weight and you're eating what you think is healthy because it's in a book somewhere, but it's not particular to you. Because a lot of our viewers probably don't know about this sway test that you're talking about, just explain how they could learn to do it for themselves.
Yeah, so it's really easy. You stand up straight up and down. And, you know, basically I do opposite hand, opposite knee, like 4 or 5 times, kind of like you're in the Richard Simmons exercise class, right? And that's simply to dispel the polarity and the judgment and the conclusions that we carry in the cells of our body and in the energy of our body. And so once you do that a couple of times, you can just stand straight up and down and ask your body. So if this was my body standing up and down, you ask your body to find neutral and it'll find neutral. And then you say, all right, body, show me a yes. Now, most people, they sway forward for a yes. And then you go back to neutral and you say, okay, body, show me a no. Most people sway backwards. Now, once in a great while in class, I'll get people doing the opposite. And, you know, there's a lot of things that happen in that case. It's not right or wrong. It's just their body's way of showing them what's true for them, because everybody has a different way that they show what's true for them. But most people sway yes. So you can ask, all right, body, show me a yes. Most people sway forward, right? Body, show me a no, most people. And then you can put the food in front of your belly or think about the food or go to the grocery store and see cucumbers or carrots or cereal and kind of play when you're in the grocery store. And it's actually quite enlightening to discover, like you discovered with almonds, like, oh my gosh, I thought almonds were healthy, only to discover that they might be the cause of some of your inflammation.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a valuable tool that we all have that ought to be taught in first grade, but most of us never learn that. So thank you for, you taught me something new about doing that cross crawl movement to balance before you do the kinesiology test, which is, I'll experiment with that in the future.
Yeah, it just helps, it helps to dispel the polarity and it helps dispel the judgment, because Lord knows we have enough of that going on in our lives. We don't need more.
Mm-hmm. So if you had, we got a few minutes left, and I don't have another question to ask you, quite frankly, other than how to get in touch with you in your book. But what else would you like to share with our viewers while we have a few minutes?
Just that, for the 96% of the world that struggles with the internal conflict, because it's not so much, we all know this, it's not so much about how we look externally. because every size, like you'd never hear an elephant complain about its rear end, right? I won't swear, but my tagline, one of them I've used is, you'll never hear an elephant complain about the size of its, rear. And so we're taught that we're supposed to fit into this norm. But the truth is, there is no norm. And every single one of us is unique and different. And it's really this, an elephant eats grass all day long, and it's size. So salad may not be your best solution, like warm foods or soups, or, giraffe doesn't complain about the length of its neck. It's like, we've been taught we should fit into this ideal. And the truth is, I think we need to really start embracing our differences, celebrate our differences, and get really curious about, like, the body that we chose. What is it here to help us create? And do we want to create with it, or do we want to create against it?
Very cool. Well, I love your book. I think you're really doing an amazing piece of work out there. And I'm glad to be able to support it by having you on the show today. So, I rarely say this, but I really think your book should be required reading for everybody. So where can people find your book? And if they would like to explore working with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so probably the best resource is just to go to my website, which is katherinemcintosh.com.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for joining us today, Katherine. It's been a real pleasure. And thank you.
Jack, thank you so much.
And for all of you listening, thanks for joining us today. And please make sure to tune in again next week, where I'll be interviewing another transformational leader who can help you create more peace, more love, more joy, more freedom, more abundance, and less judgment in your life. So until then, take good care of yourself, love yourself. If you pass yourself in the mirror, stop, high five yourself, and enjoy the rest of your week. Until then, take care.